Welcome to another episode of Eye of the Storm, a Guelph Storm podcast with myself, Ryan Drury, the voice of your Guelph Storm on Rogers TV. The regular season is over. Feels unbelievable. Feels like we had this conversation just a couple weeks ago, but it's been months. The regular season's come to an end, and the playoffs are right around the corner, and we figured why not sit down and chat with the man who led the Storm back into the playoffs this year, the head coach, Cory Stillman. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing very well. Excited to get going here on Thursday night. That's for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, let's start there. Obviously, last year, it's well known everybody was not happy with the way things went. You guys really felt like you could have got into the playoffs and just came up short. And now, a year later, you guys are back in the dance. How do you feel that the team evolved, and how did you pull it off?
Well, I think we've got an interesting team, and we've had an interesting season. When you take it right from September to now, it was great news, big news when we heard that we were going to be hosting the Memorial Cup. And it kind of shifts the plans on what might happen that year. Instead of being buyers, we ended up really being sellers. You trade Jet Lutsenko, you trade Charlie Paquette to build for next year. In saying that, you've seen our team that we are young. We're pretty still inexperienced. Our decor is probably our oldest part of our game. And then so you would see sometimes what happens when you're a young team. We could go on a hot streak. We could win 3-4 games in a row. And then we'd go on the other streak where there'd be 5, 6, 7 losses in a row. We had a really good month, say in February. We brought when lines were clicking, we got healthy finally, and then we ended up with some injuries. Things changed. So the last stretch here has not been great for us. I think we have one win in our last 10 games. It was a game that we needed to win. That was against Owen Sound at home. But again, we put players in different spots, higher in the lineup to seeing what we're getting. And again, to be in the Memorial Cup next year, it's great to have playoff experience, and that's going to start Thursday.
Absolutely. And I wonder, for yourself, like, I know that hockey players, hockey people, you guys aren't exactly people that are keen to make excuses. But given that you have such a young team, we saw some injuries this year as well. How difficult is it to kind of coach through those growing pains, if you will, when you're not necessarily sure who's going to be on the team, given that you moved guys like Jet and Charlie, which was difficult, obviously. How difficult is it to coach through stuff like that?
You learn. My job is to coach the players that I have, right? The general manager makes the trades, the ownership makes the decisions, and mine is we have 23 guys here, and I've got to get the best out of them every day. And there are some nights, some learning pains, I would say, and some positives. We've gone through even in games that we've lost, and it doesn't look, we've lost by 3 or 4 goals. We've had some good nights where we started outshot teams 13-4 in the first period, say, and everything's going well, and then we give up a goal, and you could see everything sink, and it's like, oh, we're having this. This is going to happen again tonight. We're not going to score goals. We know we're a team. We've come a long way. When 5-on-5, we play extremely well. We are pretty structured, and if we can stay 5-on-5 on the ice, play a structured game, it gave us a chance every night to win. Obviously, the results weren't there though.
Tell me a little bit about the development of you and the rest of the coaching staff. Obviously, you, Rob Davison, and Scott Simmonds have really kind of gelled over the last couple years here. Tell me a little bit about how you feel you guys have all grown, not only individually as coaches, but as a staff.
You know what? We come in last year. We are all new to the Guelph Storm. We come back a second year. We changed a few of our systems after speaking over the summer. Whether we were pressuring the puck more in the offensive zone, sitting back maybe a little more in our defensive zone. Our conversation, we have an open dialogue in the rink. I'm willing to learn all the time. We, decided on who's going to look after pre-scouts, who's looking after power play, penalty kill. Each guy has their own job, but we're willing to sit down and listen. We all moved into the same office. So when we're in at the rink, there's one TV, there's 3 desks, but they're all put together, and we have great conversation. Our goal is to make this team the best we can. And I think we've done that with some players have really improved this year. We've had guys jump in point totals. And again, you always want more as a coaching staff. And again, we still have room to grow in our own game. And again, now we'll see how did 68 games go to prepare us to play in this playoff.
So let's talk about your playoff opponent. Obviously, you're going to be taking on the Windsor Spitfires, the second seeded team. You guys have given Windsor some trouble throughout the season. I think back to that big 8-5 win back in November at home. You guys have played them tight every single time that you guys have clashed. How do you kind of see your team stacking up against the Spitfires?
Well, we had a winning record against them, which is awesome. It is a confidence builder. We I don't think we've played them since November. We were done with them very early in the season, and again, they've added a few players. They've added couple 19-year-olds in an OA, but I think our game matches against them well. Maybe they are the best team, one of the best teams on the power play, one of the best teams on the penalty kill. So specialty teams is going to be a difference. I think for us is to stay out of the box, right? As I said, playing 5-on-5, we're going to have to come and compete. They play a hard game. They're built to win for this season, and I think for our guys is just the mental side of being able to beat them earlier this year, having a winning record compared to last year, where I think we went 0-4 against them. I think it's a positive for our guys.
You bring up obviously learning that the Memorial Cup is coming to the Royal City next year. It's obviously very exciting for the organization, the fans, the players. But I mean, from a coaching perspective, you dream about coaching in big moments. And in junior hockey, really, there's nothing bigger than the Memorial Cup. When you found out the news, what did you kind of react, in terms of finding that out?
As I said earlier, it's exciting knowing that you're going to get to the Memorial Cup. We're guaranteed one of the four teams going into it. You don't want to limp into that series and say, oh, and you don't want teams saying, oh, they made it because they're hosting. I want to be really good last year. This is a huge stepping stone. We're going to have players that are going to get, their second year of playoffs. For the 18 and 19-year-olds, the young guys that are coming in, the first-year players are going to get playoff experience. You have to lose before you win. And I really agree, do believe in that from the NHL. A lot of great teams that go on to win the Stanley Cup, first year make the playoffs, second year, maybe they lose in the quarterfinals or the semifinals, then you win. We're a team that have to go. I think it's a big learning experience right now for Jaco Wisik, right? Here's the number 2 overall pick who's made big strides this year. I think his game's getting better every game. He's now a 16-year-old playing on my number 1 line. So do I expect big things out of him? Yes. This is only going to make him a better player as we move forward.
You had a unique opportunity this year to go down to Raleigh and go to Carolina to celebrate the 20-year anniversary of your Carolina Hurricanes Stanley Cup win in 2006. I wonder, as a coach and now knowing that the Memorial Cup's coming, did you maybe use that unique experience for yourself as motivation for your players and say, hey, like, you guys could be having a 20-year party for Memorial Cup win someday too. Like, this is special stuff.
When you play on a championship team, it's always special, and it's always great to reunite with guys. We were in and out. I ended up missing a game at the start. I didn't really mention anything to our players. For me, it's a special time, right? There's a big, good group of guys. We still talk to each other all the time. Hopefully, and I think the other side is I went down there. You still have Roddy Brindamore who coaches. There's guys that are coaching in junior, the guys that are coaching in pro. There's guys that are doing skill development at that level. And again, I learn every day. I was picking their brain. What are they doing, say, in Anaheim? Brett Hedican works in Anaheim as a development coach. What are you doing with their D-men there? So there's a lot of things you can learn when you get together with a bunch of guys who have won championships and at a major level. I would like to do that here in Guelph. Is it hard work? Yes. Is it going to take a lot of, are we going to have to pay the price some nights? Yes, we are. but we are building to win. And again, this is the right step that we should be where we are this year. We are in seventh. We would have liked to have been in sixth, but now use these games to see where we can go. I'm not saying we can't beat Windsor. It's going to be hard, but underdogs win, and I think we can be a team that can be an underdog.
I certainly agree with that. I mean, especially the way you guys can play defense and the goaltending that you have available to you. I wonder if you maybe see some similarities between not only your Carolina team, but the team in Tampa too. You talk about like young guys learning to lose and then win. And when you think back to that time, you had Vinny LeCavalier and Danny Boyle and Brad Richards, and then in Carolina you had Eric Stahl and a young Cam Ward in net, and then you had the veteran guys mixed in there like Roddy Brindamore. Do you see kind of a similarity in that growing process, if you will?
I do. I really I do. And at times you look at teams and you are like, they're the most skilled team, they're the toughest team. But to me, when I take, say, the Carolina Hurricanes and even Tampa Bay, we might not have been the highest skilled team or the best team, but as players you have to become the best team. And and I think we have that with our guys. Our guys love being around each other. They like being at the rink. They hang out with each other. They play for one another. That goes a long way. That goes a long ways in playoff hockey and with an organization.
It certainly does. And I want to ask you, I wish we could talk about everybody on the team, but I mean, you mentioned Yakko and his development and what a rookie season he put together as a 16-year-old. Another kid that really took kind of an interesting step forward this year was Will McFadden. And when we watched him go onto the back end, Mark and I were just, we are so impressed with this guy. We all love Will. He's a fun kid, but to have him put in that situation, obviously with injuries, lending to that, to watch him go back there and look so natural, so smooth. He went on a huge point tear when he was back there. Like, what's that like as a coach watching a kid just transition back there?
Wow, that was a stretch where we needed players to play. All our call ups were injured. We didn't have enough defensemen. I think on one game, Will went back and played, and then Hunter McKenzie went back and played. So it was great. It's funny. At times as a nickname for me, I would call him shortstop because he looks at me funny and I'm like, why shortstop? And I'm like, well, if you look at baseball, the guy who plays shortstop can play third base, he can play second base. He's a jack of all trades. And I think you see that in Will. He's killed penalties for us. He plays on the power play. He's played up front. He plays on the back end. I think when he went back to the back end, it gave him confidence. He could see the game. He's a very smart player. The game was in front of him, and he was making plays. He still goes back and forth. And when we're going to start here on Thursday night, he's going to be on the back end. We believe in him with losing Jenks out for probably the rest of the season. We needed a left shot, the defenseman, and Will is a guy that we have a lot of trust in playing there.
Yeah, as you should. I mean, again, he just looked so calm back there and made a bunch of great plays. I mentioned your goaltending, obviously. Zach Jovanovski put together an unbelievable season. He's the highest rated goaltender that's draft eligible in the Ontario Hockey League. I think that the year he put together, I think that it firmly nailed down that you have a starting goaltender for a Memorial Cup team.
It did. They both came in. We had a grouping of the two goalies and who was going to take the ball and run with it. And I think Zach did that. He played in the All-Star game. He's the highest ranked goalie. I think he had 25 wins for us this year. He wants that challenge. And in order for us to win, we're going to need good goaltending, right? And everybody in every league, whether you're in U10 all the way to the National Hockey League, you start with your goaltender. And if your goaltender can win you games, doesn't always have to be first star, but he gives you a chance to win every night. That's what you're looking for as a coach, and we definitely have that with Jovo in between the pipes.
And then you got another great young kid in Colin Ellsworth who is so talented back there and played through a lot of challenging games and just kept battling. I think you guys have a really good setup in the crease. I wanted to also ask you about a kid who he just continues to improve. His game from when we first saw him to now has really, really exploded in terms of his effectiveness, his skating, his all around game. He was voted the fan favorite at the award gala and the most improved player in Grant Spada. I'm just so impressed with what this kid brings to the rink. And he's a warrior out there too. You can tell that he's a guy that his teammates all love.
You're bang on there. From Grant, from if we go back one year, we're going to be built from our defense, our goaltending, and our defense out. Right. Last year we went with you traded Budnick, you traded Allen. We were young. We were 17 years of age and 18 years of age. Well, that transfers to the next year. Now we're 18 years of age, and then pretty soon we will be 19. And that's what you want going into a Memorial Cup year. You want 19 and 20-year-old defensemen. Grant, who almost didn't make our team at the start of the year, then goes on to get drafted, is now, again, this year the most improved player on my team, the fan favorite, a warrior. He's going to protect everybody on our team. He plays hard. He blocks shots. He's physical. He's mean. And to go along with that, you're 6'5". So you can't teach height. You can't really teach toughness. So we can teach everything else. And the improvement you're seeing of a player that used to just, get the puck, shoot it off the board, shoot it off the glass, try to get out, survive on the ice, is now willing to carry the puck, through the neutral zone, sometimes a little more than what I'd like him to. But he ended up scoring 6 goals this year. His point totals goes up. And once your play away from the puck being trusted defensively, or play defensively is trusted, you see more minutes, and Grant has deserved all the minutes he's gotten this year.
I wonder what your take is on the way that Tyler Hopkins kind of transformed your lineup. And I know he was a little banged up there in March, but I think I noticed right when he got inserted into the lineup that he could be a guy that can really dominate at both ends of the ice, and you certainly utilized him that way. Obviously, his offensive talents are pretty evident to everybody, but his defensive capabilities and the way he works in his own zone is really, really impressive.
He works. He plays a 200-foot game, and that's what I expected of all my centermen. It was tough to see Alex McLean leave, right, to bring in Hoppy, but two different players. And I think the other side that Hoppy brings to our team is the speed on which he plays offense, he plays defensive. Like, he's always skating, he's moving, he always wants the puck. I can imagine where you guys sit, you can hear him yelling for the puck. He's demanding the puck. He wants to be the guy to make the next play. And now him on that first line, you have Yako, who's had a great year. You bring in Hoppy, who drives it, and you put Shabinski in with him, who's a little bit of everything, moves the puck, scores some goals. I really like that line moving forward.
Yeah, it's a great line. They developed chemistry right away. And you bring him up, Ilya Shabinski. What a rookie campaign he put together. Smooth playmaker. He reminds me of you a little bit, Cory, actually, Ilya Shabinski. I wanted to also ask you about a kid who's going to get drafted this year. And I think whoever takes this kid is going to be real happy with the player that they get in Carter Stevens, who, again, a guy that had some injury problems but still scored over 20 goals. I think if he's healthy next year, I think he's a shoe-in for 30 plus, maybe even 40. I mean, the shot he possesses is unbelievable. He's going to get drafted into the NHL this year, Cory. What have you seen in terms of his development into a really effective power forward?
You've hit the nail on the head. He is a power forward. He goes to the dirty areas. I think his shot has improved this year. He scored some goals from outside the blue paint. The biggest thing for him is he's willing to go to the dirty areas. Like, he is our number one net front guy on the power play, even 5-on-5. He gets to the net. He takes a beating. He's willing to stick in there and score garbage goals. I think, too, coming in as a 16-year-old where he is, I think he's growing in height. I think he's putting on some weight. I think he's still growing as a kid. So when his body's still growing, his game is still growing. I think he's going to be a big part of our future, and I'm with you. I think he's going to be an NHL draft choice who's going to take a little bit of time to develop till he figures out his body, to figure out his game. Unfortunately, he had a couple injuries this year. He was slow coming back after the second injury, but I think for me in the last week, 10 days, I've really seen the improvement. He's quicker, he's faster, and he's willing going to the net, and he's scoring some goals for us.
I wanted to ask you, you mentioned you guys all share an office, you, Rob Davison, and Scott. I'm curious because when I had Scott on this podcast last year, he told me that Rob has some pretty interesting music playlists that jump all over the place. Are you guys letting him run the music in there? Because I was told that we're jumping from like Celine Dion to like Metallica. Like he's all over the place. Can you confirm this?
I cannot confirm that because I do know if I go into the office, the music gets shut off. So okay. I don't know if nervous is what they're air or it's work time. So I think last year they were in their own office. Maybe he was doing it this year. No, the only thing that goes on in there is the TV and video.
Okay, so that when the boss comes in, there's no music happening.
There's no music. Let's get to work.
Talk me through. I'm always curious because I don't think that, fans generally understand like all the work that goes into a video session. Like we see you guys at the rink, sometimes at practice, we see you interacting with the players during games. But video has become such a big part of teaching guys, and especially at the junior level. What's a video session kind of look like? Like, what are you trying to accomplish with players in one of those?
Well, yeah. So during the game, you have a little board work. There's a little bit of video, but even between periods, video is now showing a lot of teaching is being done. They want to see themselves make the right play, the wrong play. So we go through how on a pre-scout, how the other team forechecks, what their neutral zone forecheck, how they play in their own zone. We show before the game on how we can beat, how to break out of our zone, what our power play, what our penalty kill works. And then usually once a week, if not twice a week, after games, players are shown individually the positives and negatives, or say we take a player and we're not happy with his wall work. Every time the puck's going up his boards, there's turnovers. We will show them, say on Monday, practice, there'll be more wall work, how to beat it, how to put your body in front of the defenseman. And then we play the games Friday and Saturday. Now we can come back and show the video and show, here's the improvements you've made. We taught you on body positioning, on height of the wall. You did it. Here are your results. So there's teaching every day. There's more behind the scenes that what people see when they just come to the game and see what's on the bench. A lot of it's done in behind closed doors.
I want to ask you quickly too, Cory, just obviously, you've had a tremendous amount of experience in terms of winning. We mentioned the multiple Stanley Cups. You brought up Rod Brind'Amour and what an intense guy he was, a serious competitor. And that Stanley Cup lift of his is infamous now. And I wonder though, like when you were on that team and, you need leaders to kind of spark the group and keep everybody committed, what did you learn from a guy like Rod Brind'Amour that in terms of winning that you can kind of translate now into being a coach?
I think the biggest thing about that team in Carolina is we were not supposed to win, right? So, but we had a group of guys come together that had been on different teams, and you kind of pick the good and the bad from the teams that you've been on, right? And you see, this doesn't work, this works. We got together, but for him, he came to the rink. He worked hard every day. He expected the best out of himself, but he also expected the best out of everybody else in that dressing room. And I think for me as a coach coming through it is the players have to see my best every night, and I expect the best out of them. I know they're not always going to be 100%. We, as a coach, we want to play a perfect game. A perfect game is never going to happen, but we want to push till we get there. Each player probably has set the bar of what their maximum, the best game that they played this year. If I went through our team and said, what's the best game you played? They could probably say, it was December 20th and I scored 3 goals, or it was December 5th and I was really good defensively, I had a lot of chances. My goal and what you learn from the guys is we need to get to that bar as much as we can and above it every night. It's not going to happen. So for me is how do I push you so that you're at your best game in, game out, shift in, shift out. Sometimes it's a pat on the back. Sometimes it's a little encouragement. And sometimes it's a little bit, you're not having it tonight. So you're going to watch a little bit more than you play.
What's the wildest thing you saw that guy do in a weight room?
You know what? I don't know if I'd say the wildest thing, and I wasn't there when I heard it, but it was the 1 year we were there? He had knee surgery, so usually you have your ACL, you're blowing out, you're out for 6 months, and I think the next day he was already downstairs freaking working out. Like there's nonstop, and you know what? If you look at the team he has right now in Carolina, they play that way. They're going to push pace, they're going to shoot pucks, and they're going to put and he wants them all to be tired at the end of the night because that's what he did.
He certainly did, and you're instilling that here in Guelph. I want to ask you finally, after your second regular season here in the Royal City, what's special about being associated and coaching this Guelph Storm team as we head into a big playoffs and obviously a big year next year? What's so special about being part of the Guelph Storm, Cory?
I think the biggest thing for me is the support we get from the city. We play in an amazing rink. The fans, I know there's some nights they leave there disappointed, they're not happy, but they want to win. We want to give it to them. But I think just being able to go to this rink every night with a packed fan, with 4,500 fans every night, I know the guys are excited to play in front of them and they want to win. And again, we get a chance. I don't think too many teams have moved. I think one team, they won the OHL championship, didn't win the Memorial Cup, but within the last 10 years, I don't think too many teams have got by the first round. We're hoping to get by the first round again this year for them.
Absolutely. And the Windsor Spitfires are on deck for you. The first home game of the series will be Tuesday, March 31st. We're excited to see you there. Best of luck in the playoffs, Cory. Thanks for doing this, eh?
All right. Thanks, Ryan.
All right, everybody, remember you can find this show on all your favorite podcast apps, YouTube, the team website. And remember, if you want to come down and get playoff tickets, they're a hot commodity. You better hurry up and get them now. You can do so at the box office at the Simmonds Center and the Guelph Storm website. We'll be back next week with more Eye of the Storm.